heard a few hairstylists say that men's hair can sometimes be more difficult because sometimes they can be more divas about it. Is that true?
Yep. That's why I do not cut my fiance's hair. He goes to a barber.
You're like, sorry, man.
Yep, I'm like, you.
Welcome to the Wilmington Entrepreneur Podcast, where we sit down with the best to learn about building, growing, maintaining, and mastering business and life.
Okay, Mother's Day is behind us. Yeah. And now it's back to anything exciting coming up that you're excited about?
Hopefully a weekend where I can do nothing and relax. That's what I'm looking forward to.
That's the life of an entrepreneur.
Yep.
We're going to talk about it. So, welcome to the next episode of the Wilmington Entrepreneur Podcast. I'm your host, Caleb Courtney. I'm a real estate agent and broker here in Wilmington, North Carolina. And the goal of this podcast is to highlight local small businesses here in Wilmington, tell their stories, and just talk about the people that drive those businesses and the entrepreneurial spirit. Today, I have Jasmine K with us. I'm so excited to have you on. Jasmine is a local business owner. She has a hair studio here, a salon, Jasmine K Hair Co. So check her out, follow her. She's had that for the last couple years, has big plans for that business. She's been in the area for 8 years, right? Yep. And you are our first woman-owned small business host or guest on our podcast. I'm so excited to have you out. So thank you for paving the way on that. So thank you for coming on. I appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. And a little background, Jasmine, she was one of the first people that we met in Wilmington because we moved here, and Kelly needed her haircut immediately because it was like 3 feet long or something. And Kelly cut off all her hair. And I remember she researched you. I mean, she found you because of your Instagram, your social media, because you just did amazing work. And she also was like, I need someone who knows how to deal with curls. And she was making a big change. I mean, she was going all the way down to, I don't know what you'd call it.
We cut off a ton of hair. Yeah.
Oh my gosh. It was like, it was heavy. It had some weight to it. But you handled that with so much care. And you were so personable, and I came just because I just didn't know anyone. I was bored, and I just remember leaving, going like, we should send everybody to Jasmine. So you did that on your own, and I'm sure you have people that follow you and have many good experiences like that. So I'm excited to talk about you, your career, where you got started, how you see yourself as an entrepreneur, all that good stuff. But let's start at the very beginning. Take me to what was Jasmine K's first job ever?
So my very first job was serving at a Chinese restaurant.
No way. All right. Okay.
So my brother had actually worked there. Okay. So he got me a job there. And
this is in Michigan?
Yep, in Michigan. And we worked there together all through high school. Like 3 years, I think. Or actually, I worked there through college too. So probably worked there 4 or 5 years.
All right.
Yeah.
So when did you start getting interested in, cosmetology, cutting hair, and all that world?
So I actually had one of my best friends in high school did like the tech program for hair styling. So I kind of had an in with that. She loved it, and she played with my hair a lot, which was fun for me. Kind of got me into it. And then. Yeah, kind of as I graduated high school, I didn't really know what I wanted to do, and I was like, you know what, let's do cosmetology school. Let's go for it. So and now I'm here.
Now you're here. Yeah, so that's something you actually started. You started in Michigan, right?
Yep.
So you came out of high school. You were working a server job, and you did that for a while. Assuming you were pretty good at it. Did you enjoy that?
Yeah. It was. Good money, easy money type of thing. I just talk to people, and that's kind of what I do now. So.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Well, you do a lot more than that, but it is a fundamental part of why you're so good. I most of the entrepreneurs and salespeople that I met that are really successful, I find come from server backgrounds, bartending. A lot of hairstylists do so well with that. So did you you enjoyed that mostly because of the talking to people, or what about that job? How do you think that kind of set you up for doing what you're doing now?
I really loved like the creativity part of it. And that's what kind of drew me to it at first. Went to cosmetology school right after high school. graduated, but I actually didn't do hair for the first few years. You know, all my friends were in college, you know, or partying. I'm like, I don't want to have a career. Like, I don't want to be tied down. So I actually went back to serving, not at the Chinese restaurant, but a different place, for a few years before I really dove back into doing hair and really getting serious about it.
Yeah.
So.
Okay. Cool. When did you get real serious that doing this could be something that could support me and I could build a future, or that you just had really good skills at? And when did that become a bigger thing in your life?
So really probably like a year or two before I moved to Wilmington is when I got really serious about it. I was working with a mentor and she taught me almost everything I know. I wouldn't be where I am without her type of thing. So she really kind of kicked me back into gear and was like, hey, do what you love. Like, stop kind of messing around and get back into doing this career that you have a degree in and that sort of thing. So
yeah, wow.
But, yeah.
So she said, stop messing around.
Basically.
Yeah, maybe in a more polite way.
Yep.
Well, that's cool that you had a mentor that helped you guide yourself along in that business, because that is a huge aspect of entrepreneurship and starting your own thing is identifying and connecting with mentors. I'm only where I am right now because of a few key mentors in my life that, you know, encourage me, but also would tell me, hey, you know, stop doing that. That's not going to help you.
Yep.
You know, sometimes mentors can be great, but sometimes it's painful.
Yeah.
But they know, they've seen ahead of where you're going. How did you connect with that mentor? Because I always find that really interesting. How do people connect with their mentors?
So I actually got a job at a large salon up in Michigan, and you had to be an assistant for a year before you could be your own stylist. So I worked there right after I graduated cosmetology school, and that's kind of when I realized I didn't want to do hair yet. It was like too serious for me. So she was my mentor there for a few months. And then a couple years later, she ended up leaving that salon and doing her own thing. And she was like, hey, come back and work with me, be my assistant again, and kind of get your feet wet and jump back into the industry. So I did.
Okay. So you had a formal apprenticeship under her. She moved and then called you up and said, hey, I need. So obviously you made a good impression.
Right.
You know, otherwise she wouldn't have called you up.
Yep.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
So that's part of being a cosmetologist.
Yeah.
I'm unfamiliar here.
Cosmetologist, hairstylist.
Hairstyle.
Yep.
I want to make sure I get the lingo right, because I don't want to.
Yeah, usually like hairstylist is kind of how it goes. Yeah.
Okay, so in the pursuit of being a hairstylist, that's one of those checkpoints. You've got to do an apprenticeship. So what was that like? And that was in Michigan?
Yep. Okay. It's kind of with everything, I think. You know, you don't really learn everything in school.
Right.
Especially like hair school. They teach you the basics. They teach you a lot about safety and sanitation. But they don't really teach you real world things. You know, you learn on a mannequin and you like kind of do people's hair, but not really. And having that apprenticeship, and, you know, she really taught me the real fundamentals of everything and beyond that too. Cut, color. She actually specialized in short hair. So that's kind of where I learned a lot of short hair things. A lot of people are scared of short hair.
Right. Really interesting. Why is that?
It's more precise. You know, you can really tell if you mess up, like there's no hiding it. You can't cut more off, you know.
Right. That's true.
So it's a scary thing for a lot of stylists to do, but I think having that under my belt and kind of learning with that really put me in a good position to grow more. So
awesome. Okay. But speaking of short hair, I've heard a few hairstylists say that men's hair can sometimes be more difficult because sometimes they can be more divas about it. Is that true?
Yep. That's why I do not cut my fiance's hair. He goes to a barber.
You're like, sorry, man.
Yep. I'm like, you go have your guy time. You do your thing. Like, I don't want to mess it up. And
that is hilarious. Oh my gosh. Hey, it's true. Apparently the rumors are true. And look, I mean, I'm kind of a diva with it too. I get it. I understand. I'm like, but I never know what to say. I never know how to like explain it to my guy. I'm like, it's like I kind of like it here, and I've now learned the terms finger length, and I know like 2 and 1 guard, and I know what a skin fade is. I'm like every visit I learn one more thing.
Yep, and that's
makes
good.
it a little easier.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's kind of like part of our job too is, we know you guys don't know everything, all the
Right.
terminology. So, if we can figure out what you like and what you don't like, you can kind of guide people in the right direction.
Absolutely. So you said something that I think is so pivotal to kind of the entrepreneur spirit a second ago. You mentioned that you went to school, you learned how to cut hair, you learned how the safety aspect of it, but it didn't really teach you real world, like how to grow a business, how to operate, those type of things. How did that realization happen, in your life? Was there a moment when you're like, man, I have no idea how to grow this. I know a lot about hair, kind of talk me through that.
How was that they don't teach you anything business in cosmetology school. And it's difficult because, you have to grow your own clientele. Like no one can do it for you. I mean, you can work at a salon where you get walk-ins, but ultimately like it comes down to you to grow your business and get butts in the chair and do all of that. And, it really hit me when I moved down here and I didn't have friends to come see me. I didn't have family to come see me. I moved down here with one friend.
Oh yeah. I know the feeling.
And you really just don't even know where to start and what to do. So that was probably the moment where it's like, okay, I got to figure something out.
Yeah.
Like how do I grow a business?
How did you get through that? What was your first, thought of like, look, I got to create something here. I mean, I don't know anyone here. Like, what did you do next? What was your first thing? You're like, I need to do this to move that needle forward.
Yeah. So I ended up getting a job at a salon here in Wilmington, kind of a smaller salon. And I kind of tried to rely on them for helping me with that. It didn't really go as I thought it would in my head.
Right.
So I actually went online and I was following this business coach for a long time.
Okay.
And kind of, pulled the trigger on investing in it. I mean, at the time I wasn't really making much money. So it was a big investment for me.
Really?
But she's a business coach just for hairstylists. And she teaches you marketing, business, everything.
No way.
So that was kind of like the main thing that jump started my business was going through her program.
I'm so glad you mentioned that because you're the first guest so far that has mentioned hiring a business coach.
Yep.
That is really, really cool, especially to be so early in your career to go ahead and do that because that's something that, at least in the real estate world, sales world, I find that maybe that's something you get once you get to a certain point and you kind of you need to get past something, but you were kind of right at the beginning. You hired a coach early.
Yeah,
that's hard because that costs money.
Yes.
Yeah,
a lot of money,
that's
especially when you're not bringing in much money. So,
what made you decide that hiring a business coach so early on was what the route you were going to take?
I mean, her marketing towards me, she marketed towards people who were trying to build a clientele and who were, trying to grow and do business. And basically, you have to have the skill to cut hair and to color hair. But if you don't have the business to it, your skills aren't going to get you very far.
Yeah.
So, and she had podcasts that I listened to. She had workshops that I went through. And, it all kind of boiled down to like all this free stuff that she was providing was helping me. Yeah. So imagine what a paid version would do.
Wow.
So that's how she wanted that to happen. That's how she markets to people. And I fell right in that marketing hole.
Yeah.
And it was great. It was perfect. Yeah.
I mean, you could say fell for, you could say it applied to, you got value out of it, obviously, yourself. But I just think that is so cool. And I think that speaks a lot to who you are to say, hey, I did an apprenticeship. Like I know how to do this, but I don't know how to build a business. And I think that especially young entrepreneurs, we can get really, really in our heads and think that we know everything and try to reinvent the wheel instead of just, like you said, finding that mentor. This whole podcast, I'm trying to talk from the angle of someone that, hey, I follow Jasmine on Instagram. I want to know, how do I get started in that? When you get to that point, you're looking for a mentor. I think it's important to understand that you can find the mentor, but just because you find the mentor doesn't mean that they're going to have the time to invest in you, especially the way a business coach would be. Because if you can hire a coach and you are paying for it, you hold, you're paying for it. You're going to hold your money accountable. You're going to make sure you get something out of it, and B, they're financially incentivized to stop and give you their full focused attention and utilize their experience. Because a coach, if they've in the specific field like that, they've probably coached other people and they've seen all those pitfalls of where people stop.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So you felt like, so what do you think that was the main thing that helped you grow the business side more than anything?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Okay.
100%.
So what would be, when you started out, what was like one of the first things your business coach said, Jasmine, you got to start here? What were you think those pillars or things that they had you do that was so important to your success?
So basically where you started was figuring out your target market. Figuring out who you want to sit in your chair.
Okay.
Because you want to attract those people. So you basically make up a dream client. You give them a name, give them a personality, you say what they do for a job, you tell how much they make. Like, it's your dream client, the person you want in your chair. And basically you build a brand around them and you build your marketing around them. And what you put out in the world is what you're going to get back. So it's kind of how it goes.
That is absolutely amazing. And I love that because so many people start out with, what is my dream business going to look like? Like, what is my brand going to look like? What is my logo going to look like?
And that's the hardest thing.
You started with who's in that chair. That's who's paying your bills.
And that was probably one of the hardest thing when I was creating my brand was like, I'm not my brand. My brand is my dream clients, but that is not me. And that was the hardest thing to separate. I probably started over a billion times with that. And it's like, nope, I'm projecting myself in there, but I'm not here for me. I'm here for other people.
Wow.
So.
That is so cool. That is a nugget that if you're listening right now, you need to write that down right now. I'm going to write that down because that's such an easy thing. I think that's something you need to do to renew yourself ongoing as well.
Yeah.
Holy cow. So your dream client, well, I'm just curious. Well, who was your dream client? When you built your dream client, who was this dream client?
So my dream client her name was Jess.
Jess? Okay. She's kind of fun.
Yeah.
She goes by Jessica or just Jess? Like,
just Jess.
I don't know how detailed we're getting with this.
But yeah, I mean, I had, she was married, no kids.
Was married? What happened? I don't know how deep we're getting with Jess.
Hypothetical Jess is married, no kids, Also like an independent businesswoman, or maybe not like independent business, but she, has a career. She does her own thing. Flexible schedule. I don't even remember all the details right now, but
even those things right there, someone that has a successful career but also has a flexible schedule, because you're thinking that's going to have to be either a small business owner or maybe someone that's a little bit more higher net worth potentially. Someone that's flexible might have their own network that they can bring in and friends. I mean, those all factored into that is your client, and that tells you who you have to market to, because if you're looking for someone who's going to be available and flexible in a day, it's not going to be 9 to 5 people,
And then it's also like, I think about the schedule that I want to work and who's the type of person who's going to fit into my dream schedule. Because if I wanted to work 9 to 5, my clientele can't be working 9 to 5 too, True. So that's another kind of layer to that, is figuring all that out. But,
so you defined your dream client. I think that is such a good piece of advice. That is crazy. I think every small business person needs to stop what they're doing right now and imagine their dream client. And I'm subject to this, this applies to me big time. I'm going to be really, really looking at that. Yeah. What else did your business coach do, you think, that besides you? So clarity, vision is obviously very, very important. Yeah. Then once you got that clarity, you said, I now know who my dream client is. What were those next steps that you did to build your business?
Things like building a website, building up your social media being like Facebook, Instagram, Google Business, Yelp, all that kind of stuff. And then, really following like economic patterns and how people spend money and that sort of thing as well, especially with the pandemic. And now we're in a recession, like really knowing people and people's habits and how they're going to react to, economic events like that too. Makes a big difference on how you show up for them on your social platforms and stuff like that.
Wow. Yeah. So you're saying lots of research. You need to know not only who your target client is, but you need to know how much money they make, how they spend it, how they think about it, because that's going to help you understand how to interact with that client.
That's going to help me set my price point for my services. It's going to help me understand them as a consumer.
Wow. When you got started here, I mean, you started you said you've had your own salon for the last 2 years, coming out of a wild economy. I mean, you got COVID, you got inflation, you got all kinds of stuff going on. How have you, what's been kind of the evolution of your business? Has it grown to where you want it to be? Is it, kind of where is that at in your goals right now?
Yeah. So I've actually been able to kind of niche down on my specialty. So I only do curly haired clients, natural curls and waves. And yeah, I'm really at a point where I'm happy in my business. I'm taking my dream clients only. I'm not a one person does all type of thing, which is, some people like that and that's okay. But when your demand is high, you kind of it works to niche down better because you kind of got to drop that demand a little bit.
Before you got into being a hairstylist, I know you had spent time as a server. That was that the first time? Because I want to kind of transition, talk about like income and how people balance finances, because that is something that I make sure to talk about with every guest, because that can make or break you as a young entrepreneur. People maybe they have all the talent and skill, and they might be insanely good with curly hair, but if they can't budget and they can't understand the cost of these things, it's not going to work. How would you say, when you started out working as a server, I know that's something where you have kind of some flexible up and down income. And then I'm sure when you were apprenticing, I'm sure that you got to see that firsthand. What was that transition like mentally, thinking about your income fluctuating? How did that transition happen in your life?
So I had several jobs for a long time. So, while I was apprenticing, I made minimum wage. So I would also serve at night. And then, same thing. When I moved down here, I was working at a salon, and then I was working at a salon supply store too, just to kind of supplement the income, because I didn't have the clientele built, and it was a lot of work.
That's a smart move though, because that's in the sphere of your business. You're talking and working with products that you would use and recommend to someone in the chair.
And that was when I moved down here. That was one of my big things. I didn't want to go back to serving because that was so easy for me, and I didn't want to fall back into that and be like, oh, I'm already making good money. Like, I'm fine where I'm at. I didn't want to get comfortable, because that's kind of what happened before until my mentor kind of pulled me out of that. So when I first moved down here, I was like, you know what? I'm not going to serve. I'm going to get a retail job along with a salon job and kind of try to balance that out.
So you started out with having something that is retail, that's kind of stable footing, and then something that is kind of what you're going to. You're trying to build this one up. That's super important. The guest that we had last, TJ Drexel, he's a prolific photographer and really well known here, but he also owns a painting business. A lot of people don't know that he has owned a successful painting business for many years, and that painting business platformed his photography career. It's the thing that it provided the foundation to start there. How important was it to have that foundation, or how did you manage having a foundation? Or how did you budget, or tips and tricks of how you just thought about that to make your dream of pursuing, starting your own salon more possible?
Yeah. So it kind of started out with my retail job being my main source of income. And as my clientele grew, I kind of cut back my hours and made more hours at the salon, kind of, went the other direction with that. And then, at some point, you just got to take the leap and, focus all your energy on what you want to be doing. And that's kind of when all the magic happens and when you're really ready to dive into it. And it's scary though, because you're like, this was my crutch. This is my safety net. And kind of letting that go was definitely scary.
That must be terrifying. When did you know? Well, tell me about that. When did you know that was right? What were the factors that you were deciding in your head to know that was going to be the right decision, to leave that retail job, leave that foundation, and just go all in?
Oh, I don't even know. It kind of was just one of those things where, I think I started doing my business coaching, and it kind of got to the point where it's like, okay, if I'm not focusing my energy on what I want to be doing, then I'm never going to do it. So it was just kind of like, one day I was kind of sick of retail to begin with. I didn't want to work all the holidays and all that anymore either. And I was like, okay, you know what? I'm done with this. I'm just going to figure it out as I go.
You went all in, you dove all in. And this was, this when you were still working at a salon when you were here? Or is this all in, I'm starting Jasmine?
Nope, I was still at a salon. At this point, I moved to a smaller salon. So it was just me and the owner. Which is great. He really helped me through that transition too, financially as well. And I couldn't have done it without him. Awesome. So that was a big help. He kind of encouraged me to, take the leap and do that as well. It's a scary thing to do, especially with finances. I got bills to pay. I don't have anyone else, it was just me and my dog. So I had to pay for his food somehow.
So you had some people that believed in you, and a lot of people are quick to judge someone when they have help or they have somebody that connects them forward. But what people don't realize is that those people that do move you forward are only doing that because they see the potential in you, because you showed up and showed them the quality of person that you are.
Yeah.
I've had, my mentors have had some very strategic relationships in real estate where, I've been trusted, maybe with a lead or a client that I wouldn't normally have access to, but it's only because I worked so hard on the last one that we got sent. So how much of your work you think is balanced between like the quality of work that you provide and or kind of the marketing and having to sell yourself? And I'm sure that when you start out, it's a lot more marketing promotion, and then you get to the point where you're at now. Talk me through that balance. When you got started, like as a young entrepreneur, a hairstylist who's just getting started out, kind of what would they expect?
So really, and it's hard because I feel like when you first start out, you just want to learn everything, and you need to learn everything still, which is the hardest part. And, I kind of think of wealth in a few different ways. You have time wealth, which is when you have lots of free time. You have money wealth, which is when you have money. And usually it's one or the other. If you have a lot of time wealth, you usually don't have a lot of money wealth. So it's kind of finding that to work for you. If you don't have money wealth and you have time wealth, hit the streets, go talk to people, network, do that. If you have money wealth, you can do more paid marketing and stuff like that. That doesn't require as much time, but, can still reach people. So when you're first starting out, you have all the time. So put that into education, put that into marketing, your business and yourself, and just kind of figuring out where you want to be and where you want to head your business to.
Absolutely. That's so important I really like how you explain it. You do have these resources. You have time, you got money. And then I would throw in a third one there for me as kind of like energy and motivation. Like, because early in any of our young entrepreneur careers, I feel like we got all the time, we got all the energy, we got no money. So how it's like for me, it's getting that next level really in any business is, well, I've got time and energy, but how do I find the person who has the money but doesn't have time and energy? Because that's the only missing piece of that puzzle. And so those people will then turn and invest in you because they don't have the time. It's not worth their $1 per hour to worry about it. And now you're slowly probably getting to the point now where now time is becoming more and more valuable, I'm sure, as you get further along, right?
Absolutely. Yep.
That's so cool. At this stage in your career, what are you looking forward to? What is the next? What are you trying to grow towards? Is Jasmine K Hair Co. going to be the curly hair specialist in like the nation? What's kind of where is it headed?
Well, definitely, sticking to curly hair only.
Okay. Why curly hair only? Is it because you have curly hair, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Is it something that is difficult? I'm just curious.
It is. So a lot of stylists don't know how to work with curly hair.
Okay.
It's kind of its own nature.
Yeah.
They don't teach you it in school. So you have to seek out extra education for it.
Really? Why do they not teach you that in school?
I don't know. I don't make the rules, but they just don't. There's so many things to learn. You just can't learn everything in that amount of time. It's impossible.
And then down here, you also have like the humidity too that plays a role,
yes.
right?
Yep.
So that's what Kelly says when she's like, "Oh, my hair won't today," and I'm like,
"Oh yeah,
what do you mean?
That's a huge thing."
That?
Yeah, your climate, and especially moving down here from Michigan, I had to kind of relearn how to do my own hair as a hairstylist, and that was difficult for me, and kind of seeing. We have so many people from the north moving down south, and just people in general who, have curly or wavy hair, but have never really worn it that way because they don't know how to do it that way.
Gotcha.
And just kind of, making it, loving the hair that you were actually born with, and not feeling like you have to straighten it or have to do something different to look a certain way or feel a certain way. It's like having your natural hair and embracing it and feeling good with it.
I'm feeling so empowered over here. I'm part of the curly hair club. It's just it's short, but it's there. It's there.
But yeah, it's a niche, and a lot of people don't know how to work with curls very well.
Well, and you mentioned niching down. You use that term, and I was gonna ask you about that. Yeah. That is in this marketplace, with social media and so much information out there, I feel like that is more important than ever to niche down. When did you discover that was important for you, or something that was going to propel your career forward?
So it was probably about 5 or 6 years ago, and I took my first curly hair class.
Okay.
And I absolutely loved it. And I was like, this is something I want to do more of.
That's cool.
So I kind of slowly built up to it. But when you're first starting out and you're first building your clientele, you can't really start out with a specialty because you need the income. You need the people. Anything. Yeah. So you're kind of a more general stylist, which is fine. And people do that all the time. But kind of as you grow and your demand grows and you have the option to do more selective services, you kind of pick the ones that you love and the ones that you want to do. Yeah. And for me, that's curly hair.
That's awesome. And you said you took a class. So when you say you took a class, is that something that is that money out of your own pocket?
Yes. Yep.
Okay.
So I take a lot of education classes, whether it be, hair classes or like coaching and marketing classes. I do a lot of education. And money out of your pocket. They are not cheap.
Yeah.
And usually you're traveling. So the first one I took was in Asheville, North Carolina, which is, a 6-hour drive, and you got to stay the night. And I think it was a whole weekend. So, the cost of the class and the travel and that was an inexpensive one.
Yeah. Do you ever break down like how many haircuts am I going to do to like pay for this class?
Yeah. Right. And it's a lot. They aren't cheap, but it's worth it.
But okay. So, was that always a priority for you, or is that something that you were taught, or is it something your mentor modeled, or?
I think it's something my mentor modeled. I started out at a Redken salon, and it was a pretty large salon, and they brought in educators quarterly to educate all the stylists. And it's one of those things where it's like, you need to stay up to date. You need to know the trends. You need to just be knowledgeable of things. So it's kind of always something that I've felt strongly about, I guess, is, keeping current and up to date and staying educated.
Yeah. Something that I've noticed in my business, and I really think this would apply to any person in sales, is knowledge or classes, training leads to knowledge about your craft or your market, your industry. That knowledge leads to awareness and clarity, which leads to confidence and energy, which is how you present yourself, how you sell yourself. So if you want to sell more, it's not about convincing somebody to do something or moving someone or just getting someone in the chair. You're attracting someone to you because they know that you're passionate, you're spending your own money, and they want to come to you. I think that we tell that backwards so often, where it's like, oh, if you want to start out as a hairstylist, well, you just need to get butts in chairs. And sure, that's absolutely true, but that's all you focus on. You may never, you may get stagnant.
Yep, exactly. And that's like the worst place to be, is stagnant, in my opinion. If you're not growing, you're failing. So
that's amazing.
But,
so what is a can you think of, I always like to ask this question to you. You're full of a lot of really, really good stuff. I had no idea what I was getting into. I mean, you have some really, really great insight. Can you remember a time in your career that as an entrepreneur, small business owner, that maybe you had your back up against the wall, or there was a particular challenge that you were just like, I don't know if this is worth it? Can you think of something where there was a time like that where you ever thought about, maybe this isn't for me, and you got through it?
Yes. I mean, kind of always.
Okay.
Not always, but you always, especially when you're growing and, kind of before I got to the point where I'm at now, where I have a high demand for my services, it's always kind of that question, like, will I make enough money doing this? Is my body going to give out on me before I can do anything? Like, is it worth it to not have a backup plan, And a lot of that comes from, people. I feel like when I was starting my career, especially, people would be like, oh, so then what are you going to do? Or what are you going to do after you're done doing hair? Or like, oh, you're just doing hair? Like, people didn't view it as a real career where I could make money and support myself. And I think a lot of times that can get into your head, and that was in my head for a long time. I'm like, oh, do I need a backup plan? Is this something I can like support myself on? And that was probably the hardest thing for me, was kind of breaking that mindset. I haven't yet run into any like big financial or physical delays with anything. Besides when I was building my clientele, but I haven't hit any like big roadblocks yet. But really, just that mindset was a big one for me.
Mindset is huge, absolutely huge. Taking care of your mind, the way that you're thinking about your job can influence the way that you do it. I mean, if you're excited about it, you're going to do it differently. And I think it's so important. What you mentioned is everyone's going to have an opinion. How did you fight that stigma when you hear that? How do you internally hear that and say, hey, I'm not going to let that change my mindset? How do you play defense against that?
Basically just it kind of drove me more to like, hey, I'm gonna
show you.
Like I can make this my career, and I'm gonna be good at it. I'm gonna make money while doing it. And so that was that's how I handled it.
All right. I like this Jasmine with the chip on her shoulder. I can dig it. I like it. Absolutely.
So it kind of pushed me through. Just, I'll show them. This is what I want to do, and this is what I'm going to do.
I feel like we're probably alike in this way, but I remember every single person that has like told me that what I'm going to do is not going to work, or if I keep doing it that way, it's not going to work. I'm not going to make it, or moving to a new city and not knowing anyone, trying to sell real estate. There's no way that I remember every single one of them, and I think about that. It's like it's so, I feel bad because I feel like I'm being fueled by spite, but I'm almost like, I'm going to show you, like, I'm going to prove you wrong, and I will die before I will admit that they were right. And I think that every small business owner and entrepreneur needs to have a little bit of that crazy insanity, like, just watch me. But those people are the ones that are at the top, and they're the ones that are doing it really well.
Because it's not easy. It's really hard and takes a lot of time, takes a lot of money, takes a lot of energy. Just kind of, those 3 areas of wealth that we were talking about. And I just kind of got to fuel it and get through it.
Jasmine, what would you say to maybe let's say if it's the 18, 20-year-old version of you, or the hairstylist that's listening to this and is like, I think that could be a good career, what would you say are kind of like those most important tips? Make sure you do these things, giving yourself a heads up, kind of, what would your advice be?
My advice would be, not only learn the skill set, but learn the marketing that goes with it. That's really going to push you far, and, put in the work. No one's going to do the work for you. Yeah. You have to do it. And the sooner you figure that out, the better. Because your salon owner isn't going to build your clientele. No one else is going to do it. You got to figure out how to do it. And yeah,
I think your story, I think your story is exactly the reason why I do this podcast, is because it's pulling back the veil of, here's a successful business owner who is not just successful just because she knows how to do curly hair. It's because you invested, you took the risk, you wanted to prove people wrong, you invested in yourself, and that's the big thing. You invested in training and classes to get you to where you're at, and now you're at a level where you mentioned that you're at a appointment only, right? You have all the clients you need now. Now it's like, isn't that crazy? That's amazing.
Yep. And even I get so many new guest requests every month, and I can't even take all of them. That's awesome. It's a great spot to be at, but it wasn't always that way. That's for sure.
That's amazing. What do you think is the next step for your business? What is there a big goal out there that you're reaching towards, whether it be for Jasmine K or just for yourself in general? Like where are you headed?
Yeah. So I will be expanding at some point in time. That's all I'll say about that.
Okay.
But,
right.
We'll keep growing. We'll keep growing.
I love it.
Yeah.
Good. Awesome. Well, this is a Wilmington kind of specific podcast. So tell me, what about Wilmington do you love the most? What makes this a dynamic market? What makes this a good place to do and start a small business? Why do you love this area?
I love Wilmington because of the community here. We're kind of like a small town, but we're a big town, there's a lot of people here, but kind of how we met, you kind of meet people through certain avenues, and you end up meeting other people who know those people, and it just becomes a big community, and there's so much support here. If you really, I can reach out to people and ask for help if I need to. And that was huge with building a business too. And there's just so much community and heart here in Wilmington.
I've experienced the same myself.
Yeah.
What are your favorite things to do here? What are your hobbies? What is when Jasmine's not cutting hair? Where are you at?
When I'm not cutting hair, I'm probably eating or drinking somewhere downtown.
Okay. All right.
Or I'm out in my garden.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Garden. What do you garden?
Yep. So I have vegetables, I have flowers, I have houseplants, I have all the things.
That is awesome. Yeah. Very cool. Yep. Well, I don't know a dang thing about gardening. And Kelly and I pretty much kill every plant that we look at. So we'll let you teach us on that one.
Right.
Jasmine, you have an incredible story, and I feel like I could ask you so many more questions. And I feel like you really are an amazing inspiration to any person that wants to become a hairstylist, especially for the young ladies watching this podcast, to see an example of someone who dove in, invested in herself, did the training, and is now has all the clients she needs and can't even take on even more. And that's amazing. Yeah. So you are a walking example of a successful entrepreneur. And thank you for telling your story on here today. Jasmine, where can we find you? Where can people find you? If they want to book an appointment with you or social or whatever, where can people find you?
Yeah. If you just Google Jasmine K Hair Co., my website will come up, my Instagram will come up, my Facebook will come up. It's all the same, just Jasmine K Hair Co.
Okay. Yep. Gotcha. Well, you heard it here first, and maybe expanding in the future. Who knows?
Yeah.
But Jasmine, thank you so much for coming on the podcast today.
Thanks for having me.
You were an awesome guest. If you want to reach out to her, go find her online, and especially if you're curly hair, that's her specialty.
Yep.
So thank you for telling your story here on the Wilmington Entrepreneur Podcast. Thank you for all listening. We are on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts. Please like and subscribe and do all that stuff. It really does help with the metrics. I'm sure you hear that all the time if you watch YouTube and stuff, but it really, really does. And give us some feedback. Give us some comments. If you are listening to this and you're like, and you think of someone that could be a good guest on the show, reach out and let us know. And if you want to book Jasmine for a hair appointment, good luck, because she already has too many clients, and she's doing some high profile stuff. I'm just kidding. She could probably fit you in somewhere, but she's awesome, and definitely look to her if you're a hairstylist in the area, looking to get some information about getting started. And and that's pretty much it. We'll wrap it up. But thank you so much. You got any fun Memorial Day plans?
Hopefully nothing.
Well, you gotta go to take care of Gary, right?
Yeah. Our dog just had ACL surgery.
Oh,
Gary.
That's okay. The weather's gonna be bad anyways. It'll be a nice chill weekend.
Yep.
Maybe it'll be good for the garden.
Yeah. Oh, it's great for the garden.
Awesome.
Needed the rain.
Well, Jasmine, I appreciate it. We'll close it out. But thank you so much for coming out and sharing your story. I appreciate it.
Yeah. Thank you.
Okay. That'll be it. Close it out. Done. Yes. Love it. That was awesome.
Yeah. Good.